Alright, how's it going, guys? It's your boy Trap House, and today I'm back with another outward build. Now this one's gonna do a little bit of everything, so I call it the Winter Soldier. Low cooldown, high speed, and high damage, especially in frost. You're gonna use your offhand weapons to decimate your enemies and restore your health. You'll also be casting Hex and Torment to debuff your enemies, and using Chakrams to slice them to pieces, all while moving at the speed of light, and in style if I might add. And it doesn't even take a lot to run this. All you really need to do is keep your discipline boon up, but we do have a bunch of extra buff to add on. But let's start with the base stats. You're going to be around 60 damage, you're going to be negative 25 cooldown, 20 speed, add negative 19 stamina cost with negative 10 mana cost. These are some really good stats to just be walking around. But with our buffs, this gets crazy, so let's get into it. Let's talk about what skills you're going to want to perk into. We're going to start with the Mercenary skill tree. These are going to give us the skills Swift Foot with 10% movement speed and Marathoner, so we use less stamina, and the infamous Blood Bullet, which is going to make this build so OP. With these skills, we'll be able to move around the map freely and keep a good distance from our enemy while we attack. And with Blood Bullet, we'll be able to keep firing and reloading our health, all from a safe distance. And next we're going to be talking about the Philosopher skill tree. Now this skill tree is going to get us our Chakram skills, which are really OP. Mainly Chakram Pierce and Chakram Dance. When we combine them with another skill like Brace, we're going to knock down our enemies and do decent damage while doing so. And this is going to give us a lot of time to punish our enemies with our main hand. But that's not it. We got the skill Leyline Connection to give us mana regen. And we're also going to go with the Sigil of Ice perk, so we can get the best ice spell in the game when we combine it with a spell like Mana Ward, allowing us to one-shot a lot of our enemies. Now next we're going to go with the Hex Mage skill, and this is where we'll get our damage from. We're going to start with the Jinx spell and the Torment spell. These are going to allow us to debuff our enemies, all from a safe distance, and then use Torment to do massive damage. I'm a firm believer you could beat the whole game with just these spells. And every time one of our enemies fall, we regain a little bit of health, stamina, and magic. Which brings us into our next skill, Bloodlust, which pairs well with Blood Sigil. This is going to allow us to use Mana Ward to gain a buff to ice and physical damage at the cost of some of our health, and let us destroy our enemies. And last but definitely not least, we got the skill Lockwell's Revelation, which allows us to turn our insomnia into a superpower, giving us a 15 to 30% damage buff. And we get mana regen at the same time. This will allow us to just tear through our enemies with any skill we use. Now let's quickly talk about some consumables. What's good about this build is you don't need a lot of potions, but you are going to want to come to this guy and buy some poutine, which is going to keep you sleepy. I would also go next door and get some energy potions for cooldown and horror potions for health regen when you use your Mana Ward buff that lowers your health. And with that said, let's talk about faction choice. We went with the Soroborian Academy, which gives you Logistics Expert, which gives you cooldown, which helps with this build. This is a cooldown build and a little bit of speed. This is going to be crucial, letting you spam your skills back to back. Now, this also gives you the Elemental Imbue, which is just really cool and really powerful. Which brings us into our next part, gear. The first thing I want to talk about is the Scholar's Circlet. This is going to give you 15% cooldown and 10% mana cost, with a little bit of mana regen with the Arcane Unison enchantment. This is really powerful, and I wear this almost on every single build because it's so OP. For our weapon, we went Hell Frost Axe. Not only because it's really strong, but its enchantment boosts all our other weapons by 10% frost damage, including our next one, the Frozen Chakram. This is a very strong chakram, and it inflicts elemental vulnerability, which debuffs our enemy by 25%, boosting the frost damage on our next one, the Hail Frost Pistol. Very strong and packs a mean punch. We put it in our pocket and switch it with the Frozen Chakram when we're running low on mana. For our armor, we went half plate armor, enchanted with the Spirit of Cierzo to give us 25% boost to ice damage. And decent armor. We went with Brigade's backpack for the damage boost, and we went with the Desert Boots for a 10% ice boost for the trade of 15% lightning, and we also got 10% movement speed, allowing us to move around the map really fast, especially when we combine it with the Pearl Bird mask. We switch to this when we're traveling across the map to move at breakneck speed, literally faster than a Pearl Bird. This will allow us to dispatch weaker enemies and then continue moving on. Now here's our skills with all our buffs going. This is how you're going to go into battle, hit all your buffs, and then put on Ruin Protection, and you should be good. That's crazy damage, combined with crazy speed and low stamina and mana drain. Now let's talk about how to play this build, and we'll be taking on a boss to show you. Alright, first things first. Start applying all your hexes with your low cooldown and infinite mana. You should be able to get it off a couple times before he sees you. As soon as he sees you, hit the Torment skill and get your debuffs going. Also, you'll get some damage over time if you got fire on. Then you want to go in and hit Brace. This is going to give you some impact. Go to a Chakram dance, then hit him once and he should go down. Now luckily he missed here, but don't be a dope like me and make sure your axe is out so you can take that time to punish. After that, I gained some distance and I tried to Torment, but you can see he hit me here, but that's not a problem. We back up and we pull out our offhand and we get some health regen right away. Now since he was slowed down and I noticed I had some distance, I used the time to put down an Ice Sigil. He moves in for a hit, but I use Mana Ward to deflect all the damage. I then use my speed to create some distance. After that, I dodge around him, get back to my Ice Sigil, and I take the time to take some blood and reload a shot. Then we go in and hit him with an Ice Punch. Now we dodge this attack. Luckily we still have Mana Ward, so we don't take any damage. Now the writing's on the wall, so I tried to end him with the Chakram, but it didn't work. So I moved to that pistol with that bullet I had reloaded, and bingo, game over. This is how this build runs. We end the fight at full health and only got hit once. Like and subscribe if you enjoy the content, and let me know if you try this build out.